Is this the story you want to see? Two middle-aged, average-looking. Honestly, for Hollywood actors, I know this is going to sound crazy, but for Hollywood actors, these chicks are a little chunky, a little soft in the jawline, a little thick around the middle for Hollywood. For Hollywood, Hollywood's not the real world. Is this the story you want to see told? Well, clearly not, though I don't think people would be as honest as me in saying that. They come up with a bunch of other reasons. We just don't want to see force diversity. Yeah, okay, whatever. I think I'm past that. I'm just like, no, I don't want to see it at all, because the pendulum has swung so far that I know, and I wouldn't have said this a few years ago. You were always like, no, I wasn't. I wasn't like this. A few other people weren't like this either. Nobody wants to be told what to do. Nobody wants to be fed propaganda by the worst people on earth. These people who cheer for Weinstein and fly to Epstein's Island. These are the people who are the Martha's Vineyard people who evict the newcomers after a short visit and then tell them to GTFO. These are the people who are lecturing us on this kind of nonsense. It's like, it's to see non-European characters in a European story. They're going to be, one, why are they there? They shouldn't be there. Like, you can just you got to start being honest about that and say, no, I want to see what I want to see. I want to see European people telling a European story. That's what made the story great. This is a bait and switch. You got to start being honest with these people and like, no, we don't need to ad hominem or deflect. It's talk about the story. This is like, if you're not telling the story, you're telling propaganda. There's no counter argument to this is clearly propaganda, because this queen herself is described by Tolkien as he described the other characters, and it was set in a setting of Tolkien's original story. It says, no, she's not African. Fair skin, bright eyes. I'm not saying she's be blonde hair, blue eyed, but that would be blonde hair. She has to be European, for God's sake. This doesn't make any sense. I hope a dragon comes along and burns all of these people and then eats their corpses and wipes it all away so something fresh can come. This is this gets perfect scores. How? It's not as Tolkien himself described it. Well, it's better than Tolkien, but you can't be better than Tolkien, because like nothing. It's the same thing with Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams trying to subvert expectations. Like, you can't beat the original. The only thing you can try to do is try to maintain the original artistic vision and come as close to it as possible. And it's like, oh, well, yeah, but then it doesn't serve propaganda purposes. And it gives people what they want. And fundamentally, we hate people, and we're not going to give them what they want. So now I'm so triggered when I see purse puppy characters. The one on the right is a purse puppy, because I know they're not going to be, one, they obviously don't belong in the European story, but two, they're not going to be multifaceted, nuanced characters. I always say, like, I could write these characters because I would write them as they are meant to be written, as flawed characters, or characters that have all the facets and nuance of all the other characters. You just write the characters, and then if you have to make one fair and make one dark to fit your diversity quota, okay. But you can't. Gee, what a coincidence! All the dark characters are purse puppies. They're all exemplary characters in every single way. They're perfect in all regards. They're Mary Sue characters. Oh, yeah, just another coincidence where every non-European character is good. So you give all the depth of character to the European characters, which makes them better characters for sure. But you look at the non-Euro characters, and you go, oh, these are just flat characters. Because they can't be cruel, malicious, and stupid. They can't be thieves or criminals. They can't be anything other than basically angelic characters written by the globalists in Hollywood from their gated communities, who immediately evict newcomers. So when I say, like, oh yeah, I don't want to see any non-European character in a story, it's like you can interpret that two ways. But I mean, if you've watched these stories, you know what I mean. It's like, why? Because it's going to be as flat as a piece of paper. I could write these characters because I'm not an SJW, but they can't write these characters because they're terrified of. They do scenes. Hollywood does scenes like, if you saw Black Panther, there's a scene where I think the Bruce Banner, who's the Hulk, he's like one of the smartest guys in the Marvel universe, as well as the Iron Man. There's a bunch of these like super genius guys who create all these incredible advancements. The Fantastic Four guys, like yeah, you're telling stories about amazing people, so there's going to be a lot of guys in the Marvel universe who are super scientists. It pushes the story forward. But there's a scene where they get talked down to by Shuri, who's also a super scientist. That's not in fitting with the Marvel continuity. That's not in fitting with the stories that these stories are based on. They're based on the comic books where everyone who's on the right side helps each other out and uplifts each other. You don't have scenes where Shuri talks down to the smartest guys on planet Earth and they have to say, "Oh, we didn't think of that. Thank you, little purse puppy. Thank you for putting us in our place." Though, I mean, in the Marvel universe, we're the smartest people on Earth, and in the real world universe, we're also coincidentally also the smartest people on Earth. I mean, you can look at the list of accomplishments. So a scene like that is like maybe it gets the sheep to cheer, but you look at this and you go like, yeah, that doesn't fit with the storyline. I mean, I'm not saying you would do the reverse either, for God's sakes. If they're all on the same side, they all uplift and support and help each other. They might come up with advancements, but you can't make her a purse puppy just because she has darker skin than you. Don't you see how patronizing that is to do to somebody? To not give them any, oh, another white boy, we have to take care. Wait, you're in Africa? Yeah. Wakanda, it's in Middle Africa somewhere, some fictional country. Fair. And you have to routinely take men of European descent into the emergency room in Central Africa, in Wakanda, a hidden kingdom. You routinely see European men who need to be. How does that make sense, friendo? Would you? I mean, nobody stopped to raise their hand for that scene and go, another white boy comes into the emergency room. How did that make sense? I'm not the biggest. I'm not experienced in Wakanda myth, but it is an ethno state. So your ER is full, which is funny because American ERs are very much the opposite, which is freaking hysterical, which like anyone with an IQ over room temperature would point that out and go, this is ridiculous and embarrassing. And it's embarrassing and secondhand embarrassment that you don't see this. And you have to have Shuri talk down to like the smartest guys on planet Earth. It's like, oh yeah, but that's how we elevate characters. No. Read Marvel comics. Watch original Disney Star Wars. George Lucas Star Wars. Read The Lord of the Rings. Watch the original movies if you want. All the characters were working together to elevate each other. They even did this. The most egregious example I think I've ever seen was in The Witches, was a children's book. I think it was British, where these three English kids worked together to fight the witches. And then it got the Disney remake treatment with Anne Hathaway, I think, and they dyed her hair blonde because she's the lead witch, and of course, blonde hair has to be evil. I mean, that's not how witches have been portrayed in mythology. It's usually, dark hair and other features. But gets Disney treatment, and the kid, the protagonist, is a little black kid, but he has two sidekicks. I don't know what they are, but they're whatever. They're not black. But if you watch that witches show, you can find it online. It's well worth watching, because watch what the sidekicks do. They're there, but all the goals he has to accomplish, all the tasks he has to, the challenges. In the book, the three kids work together. In the movie, because the kid is dark-skinned and his two sidekicks are fair-skinned, the dark-skinned character has to accomplish every goal in the movie together. Watch the movie. It's well worth watching, because it's insane. The two sidekicks do nothing. They're just along for the ride. Where in that book, or in Lord of the Rings, or in Lucas's Star Wars, the characters are all working together to accomplish a goal. Even in Empire Strikes Back with Lando Calrissian, he was put in a difficult situation, and he made a decision that looked like it was a bad decision, but it might have been a good decision, but it was the best of the worst decisions available to him, and people were mad at him, and then he redeemed himself at the end, especially at the end of Return of the Jedi, where he flies the plane in and saves the day. So that's a multifaceted character. Are you guys capable of that? No, because he's black, so we can't do that in modern days. So modern days, like, he just has to be the hero in every single capacity, every single regard. It's like, this isn't just Rings of Power. Rings of Power is an example of, I mean, there's nothing to watch with Rings of Power. it's not even worth hate watching it. And no, I don't pay Amazon. You don't have to pay Amazon to watch these shows. It's they're available through other means, almost instantly after they come out. But they're not worth watching for free. The first 3 episodes you might watch, and then I don't know, the 5th episode comes out pretty soon. But like you watch episode 4, and unless you're doing a review on it, you wouldn't even complete it. Not even to complete it, it's just not worth watching. They get to a scene where they give a lecture on essentially open borders, elves coming to steal our jobs, and it's like the same time as the Martha Stewart's thing. But I mean, the point of this is Galadriel, how she's portrayed in the show, and she's an angry middle-aged woman with PMS, and she's with this other angry middle-aged, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, fair-skinned, more petite than most woman. Oh, except she's not. She's African. And a little thick around the middle, if I'm being honest. So she's not as described in the book. I'm not sure as Galadriel is described in the book either. But, this is crap. This is like, even people on the left aren't... The Forbes review is going through it and saying like, gosh, we had such high hopes for this show. It's like, what are you talking about? It's got, it's got diversity, right? And all the male characters are basically borderline retarded and cruel, malicious, and stupid. And I think you had a blonde man standing up giving a lecture about how much they hate those elves. It's like, just use a slur. Like, I know you want to use a slur for elf. Like, it's going to be episode 5 or 6. They're going to come up with an elf slur. If they haven't already. Maybe I missed it. I wasn't paying the closest attention. I mean, there's only so many scenes you can watch where the Afro elf gets assaulted by the blonde-haired human in a bar, and the blonde-haired human is just disheveled and slovenly and stupid, malicious, cruel, and intolerant, and the kindly, wise Afro elf has to talk down. It's just fucking retarded. Oh God, stuff is so painful to watch. I'm sure who sit around and wrote this? A bunch of middle-aged, wine-drinking women who are probably popping benzos as they write this, and they think they're going to be so stunning and brave. And the thing is, failing upwards, yeah, they all fail upwards. Like, this won't affect Amazon at all. It's only $1 billion project. It's not going to lose $1 billion. Like, if you could look at the net, what it would net loss, it might lose several $100 million. But people are not going to unsubscribe from Amazon for this. But the other side is they're not going to subscribe to this. So, yes, it will lose a few $100 million. Say it loses $250 million. Like, some people, I'm sure some people will watch it. Say it loses $500 million. It's nothing to Amazon. So everyone on the show, it's like they did what they were told. They made a woke abortion of a show. They did what they were paid to do. It's not their fault. I mean, it's like, here's the money to write this diverse cancer. It's like, okay, we gave you exactly what you wanted. It's not our fault. Like, everyone knows that. It's nobody's fault associated with the show. It's the people who are the puppet masters who are pulling the strings on it. It's their fault. So, like, yeah, they're technically going to fail upwards, because the guy who's in charge of Amazon, product development for the streaming thing, even he did what Amazon wanted him to do. So it's like they're not going to have a whole rash of firings because they didn't go off the farm when they did this. They did what they were supposed to do. And it's like, yeah, we knew all along this was probably going to lose $500 million. Or even the Disney Star Wars trilogy, and then later the Plus series is like, those aren't losing money except for Solo, but that they're not going to realize the investment that they would have got if it wasn't woke. It's like they accept that. They go, yeah, we're probably going to miss $4 billion over the next 20 years with woke Star Wars, but that, like, Disney accept that because $4 billion is a loss that they can sustain because they have so much other capital coming in through other older properties. Like, they're doing this. They know full well that these are not cash cows. They could be if they didn't have this kind of nonsense in the stories. But they accept that, and they go, yeah, but we want to put this nonsense in the stories. Like, this is part of the humiliation ritual. They know they're going to have, I think they own Internet Movie Database. They know they're going to get 10 out of 10 scores, as I did that video where I read the review. And you go, like, it's impossible to objectively give this a 10 out of 10 when you describe the characters and they are not in accord with the original artistic vision. You can't give it a 10 out of 10 unless you're nothing more than a shill. And then you go, oh yeah, but Amazon owns Internet Movie Database. Oh, so like you just like these are shill. So Amazon, even Internet Movie Database, I think gave it a 59%, and then Rotten Tomatoes gave it like a 39%. So I mean, it's like even owning the reviews and like being able to pay for thousands of shill reviews that came from India and whatnot. Like even then, it's like you still didn't get 59%. It's not a 59%. It's like you go, oh, those 1-star reviews couldn't possibly be accurate. Yeah, they are accurate. I would give it a zero. Well, I guess give it a 1-star because the sets are accurate, the costumes are great, a lot of that stuff is great, but it's not Tolkien's story, so it deserves a 1-star review because you called it Tolkien's story. Now, here's the thing: even if it wasn't Tolkien's story, it was just a fresh IP, a fresh fantasy set, European mythology or whatnot, it still wouldn't get great scores because the women are purse puppy Mary Sue's, and they're just bitches on PMS, and it doesn't make sense. She's 1,000 years old, but she acts like a teenager. Nobody wants to see this. Like, can you put women in roles? Yeah, if you have to, I guess you could, but you have to make them likable, and you have to make them do cool stuff, and they have to work with a team. Like, she can be the lead character, but all the men around her have to be really brave, smart, courageous. It has to be a team effort, like the original Lord of the Rings, where Frodo was the Hobbit, was the ring bearer, but he had a team around him. Remember the first movie, the gathering of the team and all that? It's like he had his core crew of hobbits that started off with him, but they all work together. It was like it's all teamwork. And the Witches remake movie, I think it's on HBO. It really, really, really showcases it, distills it in a 90-minute movie. To watch the two sidekicks of that little black kid, you watch the two sidekicks, you're like, they're just not doing anything. And I mean, obviously the evil blonde witch is the head witch, obviously. Like, yes, you're not going to make her dark haired or dark eyed as the original witches are portrayed, because don't say it in the comments, but I know you know what's going on. Like, this isn't tinfoil hat territory, right? Anyway, this wasn't the video I intended to make, but maybe this is good enough. Like, comment, subscribe. See you guys all next episode.